I guess the team you grew up rooting for, correct? New York Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in New York, and back then the Nets didn't count. That was the only team, Chris, you didn't have to pick.
Now, you're a little older than me, so when in the 70s, before the merger between ABA and NBA, obviously Dr. J was playing with the Nets, leading them to championships. Were they on your radar?
No.
Really? Wow.
The ABA wasn't on our radar.
Right.
That was even before me. It was always about the Knicks. So the Nets, the New York Nets back then, really didn't figure in. People had to pick between the Mets and Yankees, the Jets and Giants, the Islanders and the Rangers, but it was never a pick for basketball. The Knicks owned the town basically by themselves.
Well, Rob, they still own the town. And I'm here in Jersey. I'm essentially suburban New York, basically. It's the greater New York area. I'm 30 minutes away from Manhattan. And the Knicks, people, I'm telling you, listening to the radio, sports talk radio in New York, and they've actually discussed this here. They're like, look, the Nets have 3 of the absolute best players in basketball. 3 of the top 15 players in the league.
8 or 10 or whatever. Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, wherever you put Kyrie, certainly Harden and KD are top 5 or 6. Kyrie, some might say top 10, certainly top 15. And they have a legitimate chance to win a championship. That would be the first NBA championship in New York professional basketball, Rob, since 1973 when the Knicks won it. And still, people are more excited about the New York Knicks being 18-17. All right? They won last night, and fans, now they can go to the games. There was like 2,000 fans at the game. They're out, Rob, in the streets. No lie. In the streets of Manhattan, dancing, prancing, frolicking.
Where's Mick Jagger and David Bowie when you need them?
Oh,
right,
my
dancing
gosh,
in the street.
Yes, Rob, they are celebrating like the Knicks actually did something because they're a game over 500. And here's what I want to throw at you. Because I'm not from New York. I came to New York and was baffled by how huge the Knicks are.
But you got to remember this, like I said, they had no other competition, right, in the city. And people are basketball fans in New York. People love going to Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
Because here's the question I want to throw at you. Is the fact that they have 3 all-time great players, 3 clear-cut Hall of Famers on one team, and they're more excited about a team of also-rans who are barely above 500? Is that sad or is that admirable? Because this is like you got Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, and Wilt Chamberlain there, and you'd rather watch, Swin Nader and the crew because that's your team. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. It's just a discussion.
I think it's right. I think it's a combination. First of all, I don't believe people are just going to give up their team because the other team in town got good. It's like the Lakers and Clippers.
They got more than good, Rob. You know that.
No. I got that, but I'm just saying. But some of the numbers that we've seen, Chris, TV ratings-wise, have shown that. I mean,
that was a while ago, and they're actually talking about that on the radio too. They're ever since the MSG's been demolishing them. So they're really? They mocked that. They were like, oh yes, put that out there. Like, they trying to do something, and they included national games, which obviously made a difference in the ratings.
They couldn't.
No, that's what they were saying on the radio. And then they were like, ever since then, MSG's been crushing them.
Yeah, so I don't expect people to give up their lifelong allegiances, Chris, overnight. I mean, I don't. I'm not saying that if I'm a basketball fan in New York, would I turn and watch the Nets as well, even if I was a Knicks fan or the Knicks? And it tells you how sad the Knicks franchise has been. I mean, let's just be honest.
Right.
It's so bad that people are celebrating being 1 game under 500 as if they've done something. One game over 500, I'm sorry. So to me, it's sad. That's where you think where you should be excited about, or you should be worked up and feeling good about an organization that's done a lot bad and just had with ownership, with all the hiring. It ain't like they're running away with anything. And I looked at their record too. They're about 500. 500 against the good teams, Chris, and 500 against the bad teams. That's really where they are. So I think it tells you the state of the Knicks, where they are, and how desperate people are just to feel decent or feel good because they've been so bad.
Yeah, and what baffled me when I got to New York, Rob, because every city loves its team, especially a basketball city.
Right, no matter what.
New
no
York
matter
is.
what.
Right, I get that. But my thing was New Yorkers, and Rob, this is borne out every time there's a big-time free agent. Maybe now they finally learned their lesson that they're not getting that guy, or they're certainly not getting most of those guys. But whether it started it started before LeBron, but we got LeBron, we got, Kevin Durant. Every time a big-name free agent comes up, the Knicks think they're getting him. And they failed every time. And when I was covering the team, Grant Hill, Chris Webber, those guys were free agents. And even though the Knicks didn't have the cap room to get them, people swore they're going to do something. If they just get the cap room, these guys will come. They felt like every player grew up wanting to play for the Knicks. And I guess I can get it from the standpoint, Rob, of this is our biggest city in the country.
Right.
So you would think, right? You would think, if I'm in Italy, I'm thinking everybody wants to be in Rome, right? I'm not thinking they like Milan better, or they might play in Milan or some other place. I'm thinking they want to get to Rome. But, I didn't grow up in New York. I grew up in the Midwest for the most part. And the Knicks, to me, they were like the 12th team I thought of when it came to the NBA. No exaggeration. And so they're not the Cowboys. They're not the Lakers. They're not the Yankees. You know what I mean? They're not one of these national teams, but people in New York seem to think they are.
No, I agree with that. It's a combination of the old-time fans, Madison Square Garden, which is a great place to watch a game. Chris, you cover games. I cover games. The best part about Madison Square Garden is like you're at a Broadway show. The house, the seats are dark, and the stage, right, the court, Chris, is lit up.
Well, and there's stars and celebrities all throughout the front rows. Yeah,
but you know what I mean. But the way you watch the game in the dark, like you would watch a Broadway show. Most arenas are not like that. They're lit. The whole place is lit.
Right.
It's really unique, and it's a big deal. And I think New York has had, from those Knicks teams that they loved, Chris, in the 70s, 40 years ago, they're still living off of that because they haven't had anything. Now, Patrick Ewing went to the finals twice. Right. They went to a Game 7 against Houston. You remember John Stark shot 3 for 18 or whatever it was.
I think it was 2 for 18.
2 for 18, and including 1
think
for 11
how
from
different,
3.
And he's obviously viewed as an all-time great and Hall of Famer and all that. But think how different Patrick Ewing's legacy would be if they had won that game.
Oh, big time. Big time. And if you remember, they lost by about 6, Chris. I want to say 4 or 6.
Yeah, it was
like
a close game.
It was a close game, and your 2 guard shoots 2 for 18.
Yep.
Like, normally, you're cooked.
Yep.
And that's how close they were, and it was Game 7, and it was in Houston. But, yeah, I think it's sad that people are celebrating a 1 game over 500 as if they've achieved something. And then you look at some of the other teams, there's still another half of a season to go. Am I convinced that Toronto and some of these teams, Chris, Miami?
Well, Boston's behind them. You got to think they're going to get it together.
Like Boston, Miami, and what else?
Toronto.
And Toronto.
Yep.
Are they going to be behind the Knicks? I'm not sure when the season is over that they don't get their second win and play better in the second half. They could still not make the playoffs. They're not like
absolutely.
They got cushion or something, right?
Absolutely. Indiana's behind them, too. Like, the Knicks are the 4th seed, which, that's nice, but you got to keep it in perspective. And, Rob, and I'll say this, too, as a basketball fan. And I get that that's your team. And I'm different. I moved around a lot. You know this. So I was in Indianapolis with the Pacers, but I wasn't a Pacers fan. So because I moved around a lot, I never got attached to like one.
So you never
local
had a team basketball?
Well, I had teams, but they were national. Like, so when I was really young, I liked Dr. J. So I liked the 76ers.
Okay.
And then I became a huge Magic Johnson became my favorite player. So then I liked the Lakers. And then Jordan became my favorite player. And I was with Jordan. So, you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't with one team. Indiana's the only city I even lived in, Indianapolis, that had a basketball team. Other than Cleveland. I got to Cleveland, in high school.
See, when I was a kid, it was about the Knicks. I remember going to Madison Square Garden with my uncles and everything, and it was just a big thrill, Chris. You know what I mean? Go to Madison Square Garden as a kid to a basketball game. So I was like a Knicks, Islanders, Mets, and Jets fan. That's what I was as a kid. I don't root for anybody now, but that's what I was as a kid. And the Knicks were a big part. I watched every single game as a kid. They used to come on Channel 9, Chris. They didn't come on every night. So when a Knicks game came on TV, right, I watched every single minute of it. They didn't come on. Every game wasn't on. All these kids today are spoiled.
Oh, yeah. No.
That every game is on.
Absolutely.
We didn't get it. Every game wasn't on.
Weekends were big to watch games, And, yeah, I'm just saying, like, if I'm and I'm not saying New Yorkers, obviously they're real basketball fans. But I'm sorry. I can't ignore what's going on in Brooklyn. And you might not root for them. But the fact, Rob, that I'm in a basketball city, New York, and they're not talking about Brooklyn for the most part on the radio. I got Kevin Durant, who could be, a top 12, 15 player of all time. James Harden might be in there too, top 15, top 20. And I got Kyrie Irving, another future Hall of Famer who's one of the most exciting players we've ever seen. Best ball handler ever. And I'm not talking a lot about Brooklyn on the radio. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't get any better than Rob. You know this. You're all on Brooklyn. This could be one of the. We'll see what they do, but potentially this could be one of the best teams we've ever seen.
No doubt. I don't know how you could be. Maybe. I mean, I think it's hard. Habits are hard to break. And maybe not until the Knicks really fall out of it, Chris, or whatever it is, and then you realize. But I agree. This is not just This is not just
a good
average
team.
Nets
the
team.
Nets are
right.
good. Yeah.
If they're the average Nets team, I agree with you. Then the conversation would still be, what's wrong with the Knicks? How can we fix the Knicks? When they're going to get rid of the coach? When they're going to get a free agent? Like those are the storylines with bad teams. But I don't know how they're not giving the Nets more when the Nets are in Brooklyn now. They wear a New York uniform.
It's not even Jersey anymore.
Right.
And remember when we had Harvey Arrington, the great New York Times columnist, on? Remember that a few weeks ago, and we asked him about the Nets. He answered it, but then he ended up bringing up the Knicks. Remember that? And talking about how excited everybody was about Julius Randle and the Knicks. And we were like, wait a minute, dude, what? And we talk about Kevin Durant, James Harden, and these guys. So we want to get your guys' opinions. 877-99 on Fox. Your turn to weigh in. Is the Knicks fans' excitement over their mediocre Knicks teams versus being ho-hum about their great Nets team, is that sad or admirable?
Let's go to Caleb in Brooklyn, Chris. He's on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio, right in the belly of the beast, so to speak. What do you got, Caleb?
Hey, Rob, how you doing? I'm from.
Great.
I live in Brooklyn. I just want to say real quick. I've been to your nephew's barbershop. A great place to be. Really appreciate his business. And Chris, I'm a believer, and I just want to say I appreciate your witness too.
Thank you.
I'm definitely going to be at the Kings conference, but real quick.
Hey, that's very nice of you to say both things. And my nephew Alvin, his barbershop is called the Fade Game in Jamaica, Queens. Yes.
Yeah, great place. Real quick, I'm a lifelong Knicks fan, and I understand that it is sad, our excitement, but you got to give us some leverage. The truth of the matter is, and Rob, you know this, being from New York, the Knicks are the varsity team. The Nets will always be the JV, and it's not just the Knicks. That's the way it is with the Yankees and the Mets, the Rangers over the Islanders, the Giants over the Jets. You know, they're first tier, and I would imagine.
I gotta be honest, and again, I'm not from New York, but being here, I don't feel like any of them are this lopsided. Obviously, the Yankees are the team in New York, but when the Mets are good, they get love. And when the Jets are good, they get love. You know what I'm saying? Like Brooklyn,
when the Mets had Strawberry Gooden in them, Chris, and they were going to the playoffs, they used to get
Piazza.
the back page. Yeah.
Remember? Like, yeah. So I'm just like, come on, man. This could be a historically great team.
Nets
this isn't
team,
just,
right.
The Nets are good. Nets are better than the Knicks. No, they're like awesome.
Let me ask you guys. I mean, you guys have covered everybody nationally. I always imagine it would be akin to what it's like in L.A. between the Lakers and the Clippers.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Here's the difference. The Lakers have 17 championships, all right?
And the Clippers haven't been to the Western Conference Finals.
Right. And the Knicks, I mean, you can't compare the Knicks to the Lakers. That's ridiculous. You want to talk about varsity and JV? I'm just saying, though. I get why in L.A. Laker fans are like, yo.
No, I
don't care what the Clippers do. You know what I'm saying? Right. I don't care what the Clippers do. Clippers can win the next 3 championships. They still won't be even close to the Lakers, you know?
No doubt. All right, let's go to Tony.
I'm looking for a good explanation. Somebody.
Tony in D.C., you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Tony?
Fellas, what's good? The Parker's platoon is in the house once again.
Man,
hey, but Chris,
man.
I will say this, Chris. Chris, I do enjoy listening to you talk about your faith and how you came about your faith in your life and what you're doing with the Kingman. I commend you, my brother.
Now you trying to give me all this love. Go ahead and register for the summit. That's how you give me love.
You need to do a show where you go to different dives and local bars because, man, you be eating good, my brother.
Always.
But look, this is what I want to say is with New York, with the Knicks, it's a generational thing. Like when Rob was a kid, the Knicks come on Saturday night, they probably get a couple of pies or his mama fried chicken. So it's passed down from generation to generation, the love of the team. It's like the Cowboys. It's like the Cowboys in Texas.
No, it ain't like that. Well, now it's like the Cowboys.
Now it is. Now it is.
Right. The Cowboys own the state of Texas.
No, you're
right.
right.
The Knicks own New York. It's a generational thing.
And when you look at the Cowboys, they've won 3 playoff games. What is it, 3 in the last 25 years?
I mean,
exactly.
It's not quite as bad as the Knicks, but yeah,
it's bad.
Yeah, the Cowboys though did have a great run. I mean, I guess you can say the Knicks won 2 championships.
But that was the 70s.
And I don't want to upset Knicks fans, Rob, but when they won their 2 championships, half of the best players in the world were in the ABA.
And
you know that.
And the other part is, I think they still had laces on the basketball back then.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, let's go to Ham.
Baskets.
Let's go to Ham. Alex is sleeping at the wheel. I mean, come on, Alex. That's you.
I'm just waiting on you to give me a good one.
I was waiting for the note. Everything's not funny.
I play that one too much right now.
His finger hurts from hitting that
button. That was worn out. That tape is frayed.
Ham in New Jersey. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Ham?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's up, man? We good. How are you? Now, you in Jersey. All right, let's hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I know. He's in the belly, too.
I love the fact that the New Yorkers are very proud and they love their Knicks. And I just think because the Nets are originally from Jersey, they really can't come into New York and get the fans like that because New Yorkers are not fake. They won't buy into it. Now, let the Nets win a couple titles.
But let's be honest. If they were, let's say they were they just started up. You know, they were a expansion team. I don't think they'd have any more fans than they do now.
Probably a little bit more, but I just think you got to win, and then everybody's going to jump on the bandwagon just like the Warriors.
But you know what, Ham? Let me tell you this. I think that the Knicks fans are kidding themselves from one standpoint, that there are 10, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, right, in New York. If the Nets win and it's exciting or whatever, they have a chance to flip people. Not the older people who grew up with the Knicks or whatever, but there is an opening there, Chris, because you know how all those little kids went crazy for Steph Curry, right? All over.
Right.
they will
Because Golden
attach
State
themselves.
was never anything special.
No,
You're right.
Golden State hadn't won in 40
They had a
years.
title in the 70s too. Yeah, right. Now, and that's the thing, Rob. I mean, obviously, sports talk radio, the newspapers, you're not really getting the read on the young kids. You know
That's
what I mean?
I'm saying,
You're
right? Because
getting
they're not reading the
adults,
paper.
right.
They're not listening to sports
Right.
talk. They're not
So,
calling in at
they're
14
not calling
years
in,
old.
right? And nobody's catering to them. You know, the people on the radio aren't catering to them. So,
But do you
that's
agree
true.
with that? You think there's a chance,
I would
right?
think so. I would think. I mean, honestly, I would think so. I mean, if I'm a 12-year-old kid, even if my dad, now granted, your dad's got an influence over you, so maybe you like the Knicks. But even so, you're still like, Pops, the Nets are awesome. I want a Kyrie Irving jersey. I want a Kevin Durant jersey. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And
that's
they
just,
have all the other things too. Like Madison Square Garden's a great place, but Brooklyn is beautiful. I've been there a few times.
It's state of the art.
Beautiful.
It's a
state of the art, and it's right
doubt.
downtown Brooklyn. You could get there from anywhere, Chris.
Well, one thing that's going to happen, Rob, is come playoff time, because the Knicks, even if they make it, they'll be out early.
Right.
And then it's going to be about the Nets.
It'll be all about
it's just going to have to be. That's what the coverage is going to be. So